Episode 12 features a heartfelt and inspiring conversation with Shavonna Wilson, a cherished community member, devoted mom, and Bible study sister. Shavonna is a true servant of God, gracefully balancing her busy family life while being a connector and advocate for others. She holds a special place in the hearts of many, and in this episode, she courageously shares a deeply personal story about overcoming an abusive and controlling relationship during her college years. Despite initial hesitation, Shavonna recognized the importance of telling her story to inspire and encourage others. Tammy and I were honored to hear Shavonna's journey and grateful for her openness. Together, we discussed the importance of knowing your worth, never settling for less, and how faith and connection to the church provided Shavonna with strength during that challenging time. Her light and authenticity shine brightly throughout the conversation, and we're certain you'll feel her warmth and wisdom as you listen. If you're enjoying these powerful stories and learning alongside us, we'd love for you to leave a rating or review for the Show Me the Way podcast. Your support helps us continue sharing these impactful conversations. And as we approach Thanksgiving, we want to wish you a joyful holiday with your loved ones. We are truly grateful for you and look forward to continuing to serve and grow together. We are rolling on this fun and informative Show Me the Way podcast, learning, laughing, growing, and creating inspiration together. And I'm honored to do all of this right next to one of my closest friends, Tammy. If you're enjoying this as much as we are, I keep asking, but please make sure to leave a review after listening because we want to keep going. So thank you so much for being here. And today we have a really good friend, Shavonna Wilson, with us. And I'm so happy she decided to join. I could go on and on about Shavonna. She is one of my Bible study sisters and someone who holds such a special place in my heart. She's a mom of 4, a wife, a dear friend, a supporter to so many. She wears all kinds of hats. We always say she's truly a connector, always helping others find their way and encouraging them to best utilize their gifts. And when I'm around Shavonna, I feel like my heart is awakened and fuller. She's a true joy to be around, and you'll soon understand what I mean. So welcome to the show, Shavonna.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Gosh, I'm about to tear up with that intro, girl.
Well, I mean it all, and I love to. I
I
love to make
appreciate
sure you
that.
understand my thoughts and why I wanted you on the show. So
Oh, wow. Wow. I'm honored, truly. Thank
good.
you.
Of course. And we also have Tammy here like usual. So I'm really excited that we're just going to have some casual conversation and hear all about Shavonna. So, like we do with every episode, let's just start learning a little bit more. I know I shared about you and your 4 kids, but in your own words, tell us a little bit more about yourself, Shavonna.
Hi there. Hi, everyone. Like Andrea said, I'm Shavonna Wilson. I moved to Michigan from Atlanta, Georgia with my husband and 4 kids. I have a freshman in college, and I also have a junior in high school, and then I have twins who are in middle school. Currently, I do some consulting work, but my main job and purpose is to serve my family in the household.
And that is a very important job. I always talk about my potential ideas for titles of podcasts. And today, I think I put something like driving the daisies. That's what I called it because Siobhan is in her car all the time, always
All the
driving these
time.
kids. And they are all so active and
They
involved in
are.
all kinds of different things. So,
Yeah, for sure. And I'm always like, I'll listen while I'm in my car. I'll listen
yes,
while I'm in my car.
which I can relate to. I like to do things in my car too.
Yeah, especially
Actually,
park and sit in the driveway and like get my mind right.
yes, before you go inside to
Yes,
craziness. Yeah,
for
actually,
sure.
I'm watching a show on Netflix right now, and the person on there, he says, "My office is my car, and I get most of my work done in my car." So I think it's a great place to be.
Uh, I agree. I agree.
So good, and yeah. So how long have you been in Michigan?
I have been here 10 years. 10
Oh,
years so
okay.
far. Yeah. So yeah, I moved away from all my family and friends that I knew pretty much. So we came out here not knowing anybody. My husband wanted to pursue a different career path, so came here to work. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But we've gained a village and grown into our community, built some great relationships, friendships, family here, I would say. So yeah, it's
Mhm.
been awesome for us.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years does sound like a lot, but it also doesn't sound like a lot compared to how many connections you have and how connected you are to so many people. But I also just think that's a gift of yours just to be able to, right when you meet someone, say, I know where you fit in.
But you would be surprised. I wasn't that way in Georgia. Like I kind of had to switch gears because that was my comfort space, right? Like I knew everybody, my family was there, I knew places to go. But here I had to change my mindset to be more open and, be the one to reach out a little bit more than what I did back then. So it definitely was a mindset and a heart change as well to be more open and receptive to others and be the one that is the connector.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. It would seem like you've been doing that your whole life. Like you really did grow into that pretty well. So,
Thanks, but no.
yeah. So, like I said, Shavonna and I are in a Bible study together. We actually had our lead as another guest, Lene Blaze, a few
Mhm.
weeks ago. And when I say connector, what I mean by that is the reason so many women still come together with this group. A lot of it is because Shavonna introduced women to it. One of the ladies we met, she just happened to meet her at a school function and she said, "You should be in our Bible study." Like she had
I
just met
did.
her. Yeah. So, and it was a great place for that person to be. And unfortunately, she can't always be with us, but even the little time she's been with us, it was like the right time and the right place. So she definitely has a gift for that. So,
Thank
okay.
you.
Well, great. Thank you for sharing about you and your family. And we'll probably talk more about your kids, I'm sure. But, um, like I said, I kind of had a thought thinking about having you on here, just mainly because, first of all, everybody has a story, like we keep saying on this podcast. Everyone has a story. There's always something to share. Even just moving from Atlanta to here was a pivot. But whatever you would like to talk about is free and open here. We would love to hear about a time or a story or an opportunity for new perspective where you had to pivot. You kind of talked about it a little bit just now, just determining what kind of person you needed to be and how you needed to meet new people in Michigan. So you can continue to speak on that, or if there is another topic, but just a time that you had to pivot and how that kind of changed your perspective.
So I looked at your questions before and I was trying to think like, is it my story of when I moved to Michigan? Is it when I met my husband? Is it when I was in college? Like, which story would have the most impact? And then also, which story is really my true story, right? So I struggled like, which story do I tell? How do I tell it? I don't know. I was just like stressing about this, but not really, because I truly believe that we're all given a testimony and a story to share, but I do believe it's our responsibility to share, what most will help others. And so, whew, and I apologize, but I will try to get through with this.
Oh,
But
please don't apologize.
yeah. I think what's most important, the most important story for me to tell is the biggest change and pivot in my life happened really when I was in college. And I don't know how much I've shared with, Bible study. So this is probably the first time that I have shared this story with some, and definitely not on a podcast that will be aired amongst others and your followers. But again, I truly believe it's one that will have the most impact. So when I was in college, I was a victim of domestic violence, and I kind of had to train myself to learn my worth and my value and just my whole mindset. It was emotionally and physically abusive, and I kind of had to get to a point in my life where again I just had to look at myself and realize, what do I want with my life? Where do I see myself? And I found that actually within the church. So I know we do go to Bible study, but my story started again when I was in college and I sought the church for my refuge. I sought the church for my protection. I sought the church for my well being, all the things. So when it came to a time when I needed to feel safe, that's why I joined Bible study. That's why I went to church. It was the only place that I knew that the person wouldn't come to. And I had to go to these different events and these different things at the church to like build me up and change my whole life pretty much. At the time I was shamed. I know people looked at me and they probably thought I had a whole different story, right? Like I was the pretty little green-eyed girl on campus where deep down inside I shied away from college events and different things so that they didn't see my true story. And it wasn't until I got to a place where I felt safe and I felt empowered and I felt uplifted and I felt, stronger that I was able to say, I deserve more. I deserve more. I want more for myself. Like I'm stronger now, and this can't be my story. Throughout my years in college, I definitely use that to fuel my passion and my love for like other people and God. But most importantly, I knew that I wanted my story to be different for my future. I wanted more for my life. A I wanted to be loved a different way, most importantly, right? So I knew deep down inside, like, this wasn't what love is. This wasn't the end to my story. And I had to truly believe that before I was able to get out of that situation. And again, definitely the church helped me, but it really built me up into a stronger person to change that lifestyle and to change the trajectory to where now I know, well, back then I knew I wanted to be married. I wanted to have kids. And even if that meant when I finally met my husband that I wanted to be the person that provided that safety net for my kids. I wanted to stay home. I wanted to be able to protect them in ways that nobody else could. If I had daughters, I wanted to share my story. And to be honest with you, my daughters have not heard this before. I do tell them stories of be careful on campus. And there are guys that will seek you out because they know you're younger. They know you're the fresh person on campus and they can manipulate you and provide you things that you don't necessarily get on campus, but shy away from that. So I truly believe that my story it happened so that I can share these things and I most importantly can share them with my daughters. Like that experience, especially having a college student. And that's why even today, when I struggle with what do I say, it was like, you have a daughter in college right now that is all the way in Alabama. What if your testimony and your story and how you got out of this situation and how you sought the church, how you sought the new village is able to help protect her in some way? So you can't keep that story to yourself. You can't keep why you changed and how you are the way you are today because of that story. And yeah, I don't like to tell it. I don't share all the gory details, but I do know it's what changed my life to allow me to be here today and share this story so that I'm able to be a face and a voice for others who may be in the same situation.
Wow. Yes, I had never heard that. In one hand, it does, now that you're speaking, lend a little bit more to my understanding and why you are the person that you are today, but it also is so shocking because you have transformed. The person you are today does not sound anywhere near the person then. It's very amazing that you reflected and thought, "No, I'm worth more." I think a lot of people struggle with that, especially women, especially girls, and you do have 3 daughters,
I
so
do. I
amazing,
do.
yeah, that you are able to bring a perspective to them, and yeah, wow, so
I'm
you
sorry, I didn't
I
mean to
know,
shock
it's
you. I'm like,
okay.
I don't even know if this is what this is for, but this is
No, this
my
is
truth.
exactly what it's
Yeah.
for. Yeah, this is,
Yeah.
everyone has a story and you have a lot of stories, but
Yeah.
I do think I could interview any person. Like
Right.
Tammy and I have a list of women that we definitely want to talk to. You were on that list from the beginning, but I could pick any one of my friends and say, "Okay, tell me a time you had a pivot or tell me a story." And I probably would be surprised by a lot of them, especially if they go back to a time that we hadn't met. So,
And we intentionally don't prep people. We tell them, bring your story, because we also know stories about people, but we don't want to influence them to share anything that they don't want to share. They're always great learning experiences, though. I think, we
mhm.
Yeah.
always learn from all of them. And we have had so many brave people on here, women, all women.
Yes, and that's true, you're very brave for sharing. I appreciate you going back to that because it really does, again, share how you became the woman that you are today, and a lot of people need to hear this. So you were away at school, right?
Right.
Away.
I lived in Atlanta, but I went to school in Tennessee. Yes.
Okay. And my other question too, around this time, You said you sought out the church. Had your family been active in the church or in religion before this time?
Yes, I actually grew up in the church. I'm originally from Syracuse, New York. So my family was always going to church, right? So it wasn't that I all of a sudden just started going to church. So my family was the one we dressed up on Easter Sunday and we did our Easter speeches at the church. We went together as a family, and church has always been a staple in my household from when I lived in New York to when I went to Georgia to when I moved to Tennessee for college. So that's how I knew where to go, where I could find that safe place in whatever it is that I was seeking. And growing up, my mom was a single parent. So I remember being like 8 years old and hearing a sermon where the pastor said, "You are who you are because of your heavenly father, not your earthly father." So even though my earthly father was absent, I always felt close to God because I knew who my heavenly father was. So, times when, my dad wasn't there for graduation, I knew that God was there and he got me to that point. So, I have never been void of the church. I've always been aware and I've always known who would get me through this. All different times in college, through marriage, through parenthood, I always have known who to seek for refuge in any and every situation.
Yes, and that makes sense to me. I mean, you're an inspiration to me. Just we talk about it all the time, our relationship with God and building a relationship and forming a relationship. And it makes sense why you advise the way that you do because you have this foundation. So I wanted to check that, but I kind of assumed. So
Yeah.
yeah. Did you find a place that you could go to in Tennessee that was like close to campus or on campus that you could go to?
Yeah, it was definitely the church. There was always like college ministries, so they would provide shuttles to church. And I also was surrounded by other students our foundation was very similar. So how do we get to church? Even though we don't have a car freshman year, like let's figure out how we get there. So again, we sought out transportation, or occasionally there was someone who offered us a ride and we would go to church. So I think just from knowing, again, like I
Mhm.
said, where to seek that whatever it is that I needed at the time to feel protected, I knew to go to the church, and I knew finding a church home would be, the best fit for me.
And I bring all that up because I think it's important in church or whatever kind of group. I think
Yeah.
there's more out there that people don't necessarily recognize or understand. And I was talking to my son, who is the same age as your daughter. His
Hmm.
girlfriend goes to a large campus, and she was talking about how her friends have found a church to go to together, and it's really become important to her. So it's another good message for people that maybe are in those years. Those college years are such important
Ooh,
years, and they really help
yes.
develop you. And to find something like that and to feel comfortable and to know that if nothing else, I've got this place to go. I've got this belief to be growing, and I've got this group with me. It's important to know that you've got those opportunities out there if you seek them.
Yeah, I agree. Even before the college years, right? I always knew, and even my younger kids, I try to encourage them the same thing, like dealing with the world today, right? Do meditation, do whatever it is that you need to do to reset and get your mind right. If that's the church, if that's a calm app, if that's a silent space in your house, what we call, where do we go? The flow room, whatever your
Yeah.
flow room looks like, create that so you have that outlet and that opportunity to get your mind right and reset. It's important. I have, middle schoolers, and my kids deal with, they're in sports. There's the pressure of sports and they get worked up, and you just need a minute to like reset, like just go in your room, take some deep breaths. So whatever that looks like at any age group, I encourage people to find that. Even as adults, like through our Bible studies, through our organizations that we serve,
Mhm.
it's definitely important.
For sure, and that's funny, that's like the 3rd or 4th time I've talked about the flow room, so it's getting a lot of press on the podcast, which is really nice, and
Right.
when we say flow room, it really goes into what Shavonna was just talking about, that just a place,
Yes.
that is a sanctuary or that you need to go to clear your mind, but a lot of what you're talking about, I really am glad you brought up. I'm glad you brought up everything that you did, but something else I'm inspired about is the relationship you have with all 4 of your very different children. All of them are
Very
very
different.
different, and it the fact that you've been able to bring so much to them. I mean, to the point where your son, I mean, the only man outside of your husband in the family, he
Yeah.
you tell stories about how he will say, "I want to go to church. I want you to play the music throughout the
Yeah.
house. I want you to connect." I love that he invites it in. And so tell us a little bit more about how you have brought your spirituality to your kids.
So I have done the same thing that my mom did for us, which was take them to the church, right? And since COVID, that kind of looks different. We aren't in a church, but I do think it's very important to still incorporate those same things that we once did in the church. And that's praying together, that's doing your own Bible study. I'm having a book. I think Lene provided my son on his 13th birthday with this amazing book that spiked some questions, right? And it wasn't me. So that came from our village, right? That came from somebody just like, hey, let me give him a birthday gift. And she thought the best gift was this book, but it opened up so many new conversations for us when he's doubtful or he's struggling to believe. His most recent thing came from, what do I do for football? Do I still want to play football? Am I strong enough? How do I get to be a better player? And he sought that book that was given him for more guidance. And he started sharing those scriptures. Hey, mom, look what my book says. So I think it's important for us to show our kids, be an example of what the book or the Bible says. And then I do believe from that they see us, right, and they want that more. They want to seek it more. They want to figure out, what would God have me do in this situation. So I would then share a story of, if you're in doubt, go to that book or seek somebody else that will be able to provide you with some structure and guidance. And if it's not me, I'm always encouraging my kids to seek a mentee. Seek another person. And that definitely helps, because so now I believe my son's coaches and different people are pouring into him in ways that he doesn't even know. And when he does recognize that, he's also able to say, there was a time when I doubted myself, but I sought guidance through the Bible, through my Bible study book, and through my mentors to like help get me through this tough time. And it's the same with, all my girls. They're at the point where they're really like questioning different things and want answers for different topics. And there's no other answer that I can give them other than go seek it for yourself. If you have questions, look in the Bible or look in some type of self-help. I do know my daughters, I swear by Calm app. You're anxious, you're worked up, like go meditate. So just providing them with some tools to help get them through different times are useful.
That's very inspirational. In our Bible study, like with me, I'm constantly trying to find this relationship and I'm really working on it the older I get. And I used to bring my boys to church and I stopped. And
Hmm.
so you're very inspirational with how to bring it back to them. And it's hard. My older son is 18 now. So like you say, it's
Yeah.
time for them to make their own decisions and their own choices. So you're giving me some good thoughts and how to just continue to remind them that they have these support situations out there and they can seek them out and they can ask questions. And that's another thing that I was thinking about as you were talking. I do really appreciate the relationship you have with your children, because it seems like they're very open to asking you questions and to not shying away from having real talks with you.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough at times, those teenage years. Sometimes they're willing to share, and sometimes they're not. But I do think both my husband and I keep it open and honest
Mhm.
with them at all times, with whatever question they ask. And now there's more questions than ever, and we try to just be as honest and open as we can, and make sure they have the tools to seek for themselves their truths and really what's going on.
That's beautiful. And that's perfect. And it's also good that you and your husband have a very similar approach to that so that you can be on the same page. And it's obvious just from a third party seeing it, and not that I see your children all the time, but just from the stories you share.
Yeah.
So that's
Thank
great.
you.
Well, yeah, I don't want to again go back and request you to share a lot of details, but
Mhm.
I do love what you said about just deciding that you were worthy and you had a value and a purpose early on at a young age. Because I don't know that a lot of 18, 19, 20 year olds can do that.
Mhm.
So talk to us a little bit more about what that meant for you, like, to remind yourself that you're worthy and you deserve more?
Well, I believe it really took a lot of deprogramming, right? Like, I'm no expert on domestic violence or abuse or anything like that. But again, it started with just filling myself up with scripture and stories that told me that I was worth more, right? And when you have somebody that's constantly just belittling and talking down to you, you can sometimes, even though I think I've always known I was worthy or worth more, but when you get in a relationship or a situation where somebody is constantly tearing you apart, you do begin to question yourself. So I had to find resources and get help within different groups at the church that were filling me up with you're worthy, you belong, you deserve more and consistently, right? Like I said, I went to church. When I say there was a Bible study on Wednesday, there was a college ministry on Friday, there was regular service on Sunday, there was a outing. I just knew that was my place to get filled up in ways that I weren't in a relationship. And I had to truly start to believe because again, I didn't have a father figure that did that for me. I had my uncles, I had my grandfather for sure. So my father figures were my uncles and my grandfather. I grew up with them, especially my grandfather. I swear by this now. He's always told me like you have to be more. You have to be more than a pretty face. So what does that more look like? What does that more consist of? And I had to seek what more meant for myself. Like and I had to build myself up to a place of like courage and strength that allowed me to escape and get out of a space that was, not good for me because I knew that I was valuable. I knew that I wanted more. I knew that if I didn't, I might not be here to tell the story, you know?
I really love understanding that there are other people in your life that you can turn to when you need to. Again, a lot of these things you're talking about are very wise, especially for someone at a young age. I think a lot of my friends, we want to create these open conversations with our
Mhm.
kids more.
I agree. My mom was a independent woman who raised 4 kids and worked like 3 different jobs, so I wasn't having these open conversations, with her, and I kind of had to figure out some of the world on my own, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
like,
I agree.
just you learn by example or your trial and error or your experiences, and unfortunately that's what happened in college. I learned so much about myself in college to shape who I am.
Mhm. Yeah, and I was actually with my son yesterday. I was driving him back to school. It was nice because I had an hour-long conversation with him. I turned the radio off and he had his AirPods out of his ears.
Awesome.
So it was great. But I wish I would have talked to you first because there's some things I want to go back and tell him after talking to you. We were talking about he's been dating his girlfriend for a while now, almost 2 years, and just their relationship, and they go to different schools and how it's going. And he just said, "We get along great. I can see long term with her. Not
Mhm.
that I wanna do anything today, but I just see long term." And
Mhm.
and I just kept saying, "That's wonderful." Just you wanna make sure that you stay true to who you are. Don't let anyone control you or
Yes.
take away from your joy or who you are, or if you wanna go into something, you wanna graduate in some particular degree, or you wanna go after a particular job, make sure your partner, whoever you decide to share this with, supports what you're trying to do and doesn't try to take any of that away. And she even told me, his girlfriend even said, "I'm glad we go to different schools because we're each doing our own thing."
Yes.
And so I appreciate that so much. And again, it goes back to what I'm saying to you, like, wise people at age 18, like, I don't think I was like that.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I was either. My daughter is similar to your son in a 2-year relationship, and this is my person, this is my person.
Mhm.
And then somebody just asked me yesterday, how's it going with the boyfriend? And I was like, very good. He's a nice young man. They're in different states. They don't get to see each other that often. And I do know they're both holding on to this long-term fairy
Yes.
tale ending story, but I also encourage her to, like you said, just living your truth, enjoy different experiences. Like you're in college, but also be safe. Also, you have to
Yes.
give her that side too and make sure. I know for me, I was very much in a controlling relationship. So I know now to tell her to be more open, be safe, don't get in these situations. And so for me, the boyfriend being far away is is okay with me because I know
Yes.
that's not her situation. And that's why I find a little bit of joy in their relationship because anybody who comes to her, she's like, I have a boyfriend. I'm like, good. You tell him,
You
so
tell
that
those
I
boys to
know.
stay away.
Yeah, because I know she's not getting in the situation that I was in if she does that. Does that make sense? Like I
Yes.
know I don't have to share, even though now I'm sure she'll hear this story, but I don't I don't have
Yeah.
to share the story so much because I know she's not
Mhm.
out there getting influenced by older people on
Mhm.
campus and
Mhm.
willing to date somebody that's controlling or plays these games or is abusive because she has this boyfriend that's miles away that she's loyal to and she's not putting herself in the same situation that I was.
Yeah, I can appreciate that for sure. I go back to it's a testament the way that your children are is such a testament to you and of course your husband too, but to what you bring to them and the experiences you bring to them and I mean even when you were talking about her recently with her
Cheer.
cheerleading dance
Yeah.
adventures
Woo,
and,
yes.
starting something new and being
Yes.
with all these different people. And I just, you've got to give her so much credit for going after that and not being afraid and trying something new and sticking with it. And I know that she gets a lot of that from her strong mama.
She does. It's a struggle though. I need a parenting manual.
You need a
Um,
separate one for all four children.
yeah. Oh yeah. They're all very, very, very different. I have a different story about each one each week, I think.
And it's fun. It's fun to hear the stories.
Woo, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yes. So, yeah, this is just such great conversation. So, I just want to ask a couple more things. And one
Okay.
is this whole connecting thing. And again, I'll share examples. I just think Shavonna is very good at meeting someone and understanding, like, you fit in here. You should do that. You should meet
Mhm.
this person. What about this over here? And when did you first recognize that this is like something you're pretty good at?
I think when I moved here again, because I had to like put myself out there, right? I first met Lene, I knew to seek a church home, right?
Mm
So I moved here, didn't know anybody, didn't have any ties to any organization. My husband worked full time. My job is mainly to take care of the family and all things of the household. Where do I find these new friends of mine, right? So
hmm.
I
Mm hmm.
started with the church again. So went into the church and very first day I was a little awkward walking around the building and I didn't know where to go and I happened to see Lene and I'm like, excuse me, how do I get to whatever room number? And she's like, come on, follow me. And we've been hooked at the hip ever since. But I
Ever
think,
since. Yeah.
yeah, I think when I moved here, and this is another like what I started out with the pivot and another time of change, I had to again change my mindset to find joy in the move and find joy in the situation. So I had to force myself to build new relationships and connect with people in ways that I hadn't before. So I had to get out of my own way to meet new people. I had to get out of my own way and get involved in the school. I believe there was a time when I was at the school so much people were like, you need a job here because that was how much I needed to connect with people. So maybe my move here allowed me to see I needed to be more open and connect with more people than I was before.
That's great. And now there's always something that our guests say that immediately makes me think, "Oh, Tammy, are you getting this?" Tammy is in Florida, so she had to leave her community
Uh-huh. Oh.
and she's moving again because they've built a home. So she's gonna have new neighbors. So here you
Mhm.
go, Tammy. Go find your connector. Some inspiration for
Or
you
be the
here.
one, or be the
Be the
Yeah,
connector.
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
That's a
Yeah.
great piece of advice for me, for sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
and I think when she says and it's all of us, I'm not trying well,
Yeah.
I always put you on the spot, so maybe I am trying to put you on the spot, but I just think that's really good advice for all of us because sometimes we're not open. Sometimes it's easy to say, "I'll just stay in my comfort zone. and not really put myself out there because it's hard to do that.
It
So,
is.
yeah, maybe in your new neighborhood, your next door neighbor is going to be your connector or you're going to connect with her. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
for
yeah.
him.
And I think too, throughout this whole conversation, you guys have been talking about the different tools or resources or people around you that support you through the various things in life. And that is important. So it's important to hear different perspectives from people. And it's especially important when we're in our own heads or we're stressed out or worried or upset about something to hear somebody else's perspective. Somebody isn't emotionally pulled into that same thing you are and hear a clear perspective, and without having connections or without having a network, it's difficult to do that.
Another reason why I want to do this podcast, because like Tammy said, hearing people's stories, and you would never know all of these stories or all of these different ideas. And it really does change things because then something happens in your life and you think, wait a minute, maybe it's not as big of a deal, or maybe I can get through it because I learned from somebody else and how they reacted to it. And I think that's very important, especially for this world right now and this time that
Mhm.
we're in. I've really been trying to focus more on, first of all, if you believe in God or you don't, I just strongly believe there's a higher power. Now, I believe in God, not everybody does, but I believe
Right.
God is in control. And
Right.
so that really helps me. And I wish I would have thought that way back in college. So I'm
Mhm.
very glad that Shavonna, you had that back then.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
it's definitely a way of life in a
Mm-hmm.
mindset and a tool to use like daily. I don't know the scriptures like Natasha,
Right.
but I do know that I am to use my story and different experiences to, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, be the connector in different situations and relationships that I wouldn't necessarily just go seeking. So now
Mm-hmm.
that you say that, and the more and more you do say that, I guess I am a connector,
You
and maybe
are.
that is like my purpose. So thank you.
Of course, yes. I
Yeah.
think that's a gift and it's fun to watch and fun to see you in your element for sure. And you bring up Natasha, who is another one of our Bible study friends who I also have on our list because
Yes.
she has
Woo.
probably 500 different stories she could share. So I'm very
Yes.
excited to have her. But yes, some people do, like Natasha, they're able to quote scripture. And I
Yeah.
find that very, it's just
It
amazing.
is.
It's like,
It
wow, how do
is.
you do that? And she's
Mhm.
very good at doing that or pulling out the right one. Like we'll be
At the
talking about
right
something
time.
random. Yeah. And she's like, oh, I just was thinking about scripture.
That's
Where
not
did
my
that come
gift. That's not my gift. I inspire, but in the meantime,
Yes.
I seek her. That's the another important thing is to seek those those people who, are wiser than you or who can pour into you. Like I said, I did
Mhm.
at the church. So I'm always not just a connector, but I'm also always seeking people who can pour into me and my family and
Mhm.
my children in ways that I don't always.
Well, I think you definitely pour into people way more than you recognize. Your children, your husband, and all of us, all of the listeners. But also, I think about a time last year when Lene, who she shared with us that she is in the TV and broadcasting industry, and she had a really crazy intense
Hmm.
recording schedule in Florida last year, and she needed almost a handler.
Yeah,
And
she did.
Shavonna, who she did, and Shavonna, who has 4 children, they're all going 15 different directions, and it was the middle of her older daughter's senior year, and there was so much. Her second daughter was her 16th birthday year. There was so much,
It was.
and she's like, you know what? I'm going to go to Florida with you. I'm going to do this recording thing and I'm going to be your handler. And she was. And Lene appreciated it so much. So, again, giving of yourself and just being like, I'm here for you. What can I do? And I appreciate that you also have that gift as well.
Yeah, thank you. I'm thankful in that situation. I was afforded the time to be able to do that, right? Like that might have been the only week in my busy year last year that I was able to be free before dance
Yes.
season started, before all the senior proms and graduation and 50th birthday and 45th birthday and 13th. Yeah, last year was
Yeah.
a lot, but I was I was afforded that time to do that. And I think the same way I was able to give to her and serve her that week, I think I got the same from her. The sunshine. I'm a
Yes,
person
true.
that struggles with I didn't know what seasonal depression depression was until I moved to Michigan and I was kind of in a funk. So I served her and she served me in ways that she probably doesn't even know.
I love that. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right. Good point. Well, I do think that I could probably talk to you all day long. We kind
Right.
of know that. But I will definitely let you get back to your busy day. Generally, I'll ask, what kind of perspective did you get and what kind of tips or advice would you give our listeners? But you've been doing that this entire time.
Aw.
And I appreciate you being on here so much because you have such a story, no matter which direction you went in, because the person you are today is very special. And I knew that you would be able to leave a wonderful example and inspiration to our listeners. So thank you so much for being on with us.
Thank you so much for giving me the safe place to share my story in a way that I haven't before. So thank you for your podcast. Thank you, Tammy, for allowing me to be here. I know it took a few changes and rescheduling, but I'm here and present and ready to serve. So thank you.
Thank you for showing us
Thank
your
you.
way for sure. And yeah, you know what? The show's all about pivoting. So it's totally okay that we
We
had to
did.
pivot and we got here. And
Yes.
this is going to be a great message for our listeners. So thank you so much and
Thank
can't wait for
you.
this to air. Thank you for joining us for the Show Me the Way podcast. We truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. We hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who could use a little motivation. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.